واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا.
الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله. الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك ولعظيم سلطانك. سبحانك لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله على ما أنعمت وأوليت وتفضلت به علينا مولانا رب العالمين. اللهم كما أنعمت فأدم وزدنا من نعمك واجعلنا من الشاكرين. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله وصفيه وخليله أرسله رحمة للعالمين وهدى وبشرى للمحسنين فبلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وتركنا على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. فصل اللهم عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اهتدى بهديه واتبع سنته واقتفى أثره بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال do not be imma, and he explained what imma is صلى الله عليه وسلم. And this is a new word in Arabic. Introduced a new word in the Arabic dictionary. You say when the people do good, we do good. And when they transgress, we transgress as well. But rather, وَطِّنُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Train yourselves. When they do good, do good. But when they transgress, avoid transgression. It's a very beautiful hadith. There are mainly three messages and more, but I'll be focusing on three messages in this hadith. Message number one, which the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the very beginning of this hadith, is warning us against being imma. Do not be imma. And imma literally means, as it stems from the Arabic language, from two words. Ana ma. Ana ma. I am with, I am with. It means the one who imitates with no logic. The one who follows the waves. The one who follows what is popular. So if the people are with this, I'm with them. If the people are with that, I'm with them. Ana ma, ana ma. So this is imma. So he said, don't be imma. So he's warning us against being imitators, against being pointless people, against being people with no responsibility. We are just hiring someone else's to think on our behalf, to decide on our behalf, to guide us. No. You are responsible of your own actions. So the message number one in this very hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is making, be a person of principles. Do not be a person of whims and desires and following your interests and following your personal gains, because this will change and fluctuate more than the shares in the FTSE 100. it always goes up and down. No one can predict, even more than the oil prices. It goes up and down, no matter what you do. It's always fluctuating. And if this is the case, then you are not a person of principles. When you have your principles, you abide by your principles. And this is exactly what our message is, the message of principles. So do not be imma. This is the first warning. Don't do that. We are people of guidance, people of revelation, people of direction. We don't ride the waves. We don't follow whims and desires in order to achieve our personal gains. Don't be imma. What do we do then? In that very same hadith, he has given sallallahu alayhi wasallam the prescription for that very illness. وَطِّنُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Again, another word in the hadith. وَطِّنُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. What does it mean, وَطِّنُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ? It means you familiarize yourself with your principles and abide by your principles. Train yourselves. Control yourselves. Know more about your principles in order to follow it. Have more understanding for these principles in order to apply it. And this is why then we have seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim. In order to follow your principles, you need to know it first. You need to understand it first, and then you need to apply it. وَطِّنُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Train yourselves. We are all familiar, especially in this very professional environment in the city, with training and CPDs and what have you. We're about training yourselves to follow your principles. This is exactly what he's saying, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We are keen to get our CPDs every year approved because this is part of the scheme and the appraisal and so on and so forth. We're about our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The scheme, the prophetic scheme, the Quranic scheme which we have to abide to. So we need then to think about training ourselves. And this training, it goes with what we know about training. Time, commitment, reviewing, revising, memorizing, and then you have workshops for application. So in our situation, the workshop is our actions and interaction with people. If people were good, I'm good with them. But if people were bad, I'm the evil. It doesn't work like this. There's no difference between you and them then. We are restricted and we are people of principles. We have to follow our principles. وَطِّنُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. In أَحْسَنَ النَّاسِ, when they are doing good, then it's in line with our principles. We do good. But when they are doing evil, it's against our principles. So what do? We follow them. Because they were bad with us, we'll be worse than that. No? We have our principles to follow. When they transgress, avoid transgression. You don't overstep the limits because they overstep the limits. No. And this is where the core message is. وَطِّنُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. It's a command form, by the way. He's commanding us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَطِّنُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ فعل أمر. You have to abide to these principles. And don't go outside these principles. If you are not listening, probably many people are not, then you bear the consequences of your own actions. So the Prophet ﷺ, out of his mercy and his compassion towards the Muslims, he's highlighting the gaps that might be in our character, that might be in our actions, that might be in our interaction. So he's telling us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you will be faced by many challenges. You will be faced by many obstacles. And you will be faced by many evil. So he's teaching us how to deal with it. And the concept of training and familiarizing yourself is so important because it's very difficult, the sudden challenge. Drop quiz, very difficult, you're not prepared. Unless you are always prepared, then it's a different story. And who's that person who's always prepared? So this is why he's saying, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, be prepared, prepare yourself with different scenarios. If I've been faced by this evil scenario, what my reaction will be. If I've been faced on a different level with a different challenge, what my reaction will be. On a personal level, on a community level, on the ummah level, and so on and so forth. And this is why we keep failing and failing and failing, because we are not doing وَطِّنُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ, a training concept. We're not doing enough, actually. Of course, there are some people, alhamdulillah, in our ummah still working, training, spreading the message and so on. But it seems to me it's not enough, because we keep failing. So the Prophet ﷺ, he is saying, don't ever be a pointless person. Don't ever be a person with no choices, person with no direction. And this is exactly what the Immah is. And remember in Surah Al-Mulk, not in Surah Al-Mulk, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he mentioned the lowest people in hell, he posed a question through the angels. What got you to that level? They answered, they said, وَكُنَّا نَخُوضُ مَعَ الْخَائِضِينَ. We were following the crowd. Exactly like the Immah concept. We were following the crowd. We were not thinking. We were not following our principles. We were just following the crowd. Riding the waves. Achieving personal gains. Worldly positions. Increasing our accounts, offshore, onshore, what have you. Underground, overground, you name it. What are your principles? Then bear the consequences. Are you able to do so? Then, albeit. But the Prophet ﷺ, as a mercy for humanity and the world, ﷺ, is warning us against these kind of actions. Don't do that. So the Muslim is always a person of principles, whether at home or in the community or at work or in the mosque or in the street or you name it. You always live and abide by your principles. Don't ever just imitate the people. If they were bad, you bad. If they were good, you good. No. Our actions are determined by our principles. And this is the message which the Prophet ﷺ is delivering to the Ummah. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So we have to understand this message. We have to apply this message on a practical level. What do we do then? Number one, we need to know more about our principles as Muslims. Whether it's in our transactions, more likely, because many people are very familiar with Salah and Siyam and Hajj when they go to Hajj. But when it comes to transactions and dealings, and when it comes to, let's say, character, we are not that very clear. We have very wishy-washy culture, let's say. So we need to be clear, crystal clear, about our principles in every situation we are in. As husbands, as wives, as parents, as siblings, as boss, as employee, as a scholar, as a student, and so on. We have to know our principles. And this comes through seeking knowledge. And number two, we need to train ourselves. On what? How to abide to these principles and how to apply these principles despite the challenges which we have. I'm not saying it's a very smooth ride and it's very rosy and cozy and what have you. I'm not saying this at all. It's full of challenges. As the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that طريق الجنة حزن بربوة. The way to Jannah is very steep and high and full of obstacles. So it's never been easy. Unless Allah Azza wa Jal made it easy for those who are mukhlisin, devoted. So let's then train ourselves more, train our children more, train our community more to abide to these principles and live by these principles. Ameen. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى وعلى آله وصحبه ومن بعهده وفى. أما بعد، إن الله سبحانه وتعالى أمركم بأمر عميم بدأ به بنفسه وثنى بملائكة قدسه فقال عز من قائل إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد كما صليت وسلمت وباركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ارفع مقتك وغضبك عنا ولا تؤاخذنا بما فعل السفهاء منا. اللهم لا تجعلنا إما، اللهم لا تجعلنا إما، اللهم اجعلنا نوطن أنفسنا على الخيرات يا رب العالمين. اللهم احفظنا أن نظلم أو نظلم. اللهم اصرف عنا الظلم والظالمين واجعلنا من أهل الحق واليقين. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تجعلنا من السابقين السابقين، اجعلنا من المقربين في جنات النعيم مع النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن أولئك رفيقا. مولانا رب العالمين، اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم أصلح فساد قلوبنا ونفوسنا. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسررنا وما أعلنا وما أنت أعلم به منا مولانا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تفرج الكرب عن المكروبين، نفس الهم عن المهمومين. اللهم كن مع إخواننا في سوريا يا رب العالمين، كن مع إخواننا في فلسطين وفي لبنان وفي العراق وفي تونس وفي مصر وفي أفغانستان وفي ليبيا وفي نيجيريا وحيثما كان ظلم يا الله يا الله انتصر للمظلومين. اللهم انتصر للمظلومين، اللهم انتصر للمظلومين. عليك بالظالمين فإنهم لا يعجزون. اللهم عليك بالظالمين فإنهم لا يعجزونك. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تحيينا على الإسلام، وأن تميتنا على الإسلام، وأن تحشرنا في زمرة النبي المصطفى العدنان صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم يا رب يا رحمن يا بديع السماوات والأرض يا ذا الجلال والإكرام، هذا الدعاء وعليك الإجابة. اللهم هذا الدعاء وعليك الإجابة. اللهم هذا الدعاء وعليك الإجابة. حاشا أن تخيبنا يا رب العالمين، حاشا أن تخيبنا يا رب العالمين. ثبتنا على الإيمان، وثبت ذرياتنا على الإيمان، وثبت آباءنا وأمهاتنا وأحبابنا وإخواننا على الإيمان. واختم لنا بخاتمة السعادة، واجعلنا من أهل الحسنى وزيادة. صلي وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. آمين آمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين.